Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Andrew Aurora, and I am an artist and a mixing and mastering engineer from Nashville, Tennessee, and I help artists and producers bring their creative vision to life through mixing and mastering. And today I'm going to be mixing a song called Weight of the World by an artist named Ender Bowen off of his record, The Art of Tactful Procrastination. Now, I mixed this record a little while ago, and today I'm going to be doing a full walkthrough from front to back on how to mix his song, Weight of the World. And if you'd like to check out the full record, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. I left a link to all of his socials as well as all of the platforms that you can listen to his music on. And if you are looking for someone to mix and master your music, you can go to andrewaurora.productions.com and apply to work with me. And if you are having a hard time finding a mixing and mastering engineer for your project, no worries, I've got you covered. I've got a free resource for you called My 12 Tips to Finding the Right Mixing and Mastering Engineer, and you can pick that up in the description below. Now let's get on to the video.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Andrew Aurora here, and I am going to show you guys how to mix a song from start to finish today. And this is my very first time doing this on video. I've never tried to teach people how to mix and master before, but I'm just going to wing it and do my best. So be sure to let me know what you guys like best about this and maybe what I can do to improve the next video. I'm going to be going through this entire album, showing you guys how to mix every single song on the record. And before I get started, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the artist, a little bit about the song, a little bit about the record, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I like to mix. And as I'm going through this whole process, showing you guys how to mix this song, I guess I will, do my thing and then try to explain it the best I can. As to how I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, so this is kind of a new experience for me, so let's just see how it turns out. But let's start off with the song. So this song is called Weight of the World. This is from a record called The Art of Tactful Procrastination. This is from an album that I mixed a couple years ago for an artist named Ender Bowen, and Ender and I worked together on this record, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great time. Ender is a very talented artist. He provided me with some very good quality material to mix and master, and it was a very good time. This is a really fun project. It was a challenging project because I was on a little laptop, little MacBook that could barely run the whole record as I was mixing and mastering each song. CPU was overloading left and right. It was a big challenge, but I got through it, and I think the record turned out pretty well. Between the work that I put in on it and his revisions, we managed to come together and make a pretty awesome record that I think we were both really happy with, and it was just a good time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm probably going to, first off, I'm going to play the song for you, let you hear kind of, what this song is about. And when I hit play, it's going to sound like it's already like 80% there. And the reason for that is because I have put all these tracks into a template that I already have set up, have the gain staging set up in such a way where when I drop the tracks in, it will already sound kind of close to done. It's not going to sound completely done, but it's going to sound like, I'm past halfway there. And I'll explain how I have my template set up as I go along, but how I like to mix is I like to try to mix fast because I believe, mixing fast is the best way to, make the most progress with a song, because I think the longer you take on it, the more your ears start to play tricks on you. But also because when you're doing this as a career, then you need to be able to do more songs so you can make more money, and you need to be able to, get stuff done in a pinch, because sometimes you get approached by artists who need stuff done quickly. And if it takes you 10 hours to mix one song, that's just not going to cut it when you have a 12-song record and you have 3 days to get it done. Not to mention there are other things in life besides mixing that are important. So, having a work-life balance is good, not living your whole life in the studio. So again, I just think that mixing fast is the best way to do it, because you will hear things, make immediate decisions based off of what you hear, and you will get more songs done, which means you get better at what you do. You get more experience, and you in turn make more money and are able to have a little bit more balance in your life. So the way I mix is top-down mixing, which means that I mix through a mastering chain, and I also mix, with plugins on my buses and whatnot, so I can, kind of make some big moves at the top and work my way down instead of necessarily having to go through each individual track and make a specific change. So let's say, for example, I hit play and I hear too much 4K in the whole mix. Well, I could do an EQ notch on the master at 4K, and that will get rid of that frequency without me having to go through and take 4K out of 10 different tracks. I may be able to save myself a lot of time and make a lot of progress just by doing that one EQ move on the mastering chain. Everybody has a different way that they like to mix, but this is how I like to mix, and this is how I'm going to be teaching you guys how to mix. So anyway, without further ado, how about I just hit play on this song so you guys can kind of hear where it's at, and we will go from there. Actually, let's start from the beginning. All right, cool. Just from playing that portion, I think that you guys have pretty much got the gist of it. So where should I start? So I'm going to take you guys up to my mastering chain here real quick and just kind of show you what I've got going on here. I've actually got this plugin here, the Metric AB, which I have the official release of Weight of the World track here that we can compare directly to, so you guys can hear the official release. And we can kind of see how close I'm going to get to the official release, see if we can do just as good or better than I did way back when I mixed it a couple years ago. I've got a Pro Q3 with a couple little notches here. Now, mind you, I haven't made any changes since putting these tracks into my template. This is just the stuff that I have saved on my template. I've also got some Joel Wanasek bus glue mix here, which is like a compressor for my mastering chain. I got a little bit of LinMB, which is a linear phase multiband compressor. I may or may not keep this on my chain. I don't know. Then I've got some JST clip, just a little bit at mix 20 with a couple notches up. This is a clipper, which helps the whole thing get a little bit more in your face. And then we got some Pro L with a slow attack, fast release, and it should just be tapping this limiter. So yeah, so I'm mixing into that, and what I usually like to do is I like to start with the drums because that's the foundation of a song. If the drums are weak and lame, then the rest of the song is going to be really hard to build because you're building off of a weak foundation. Another thing that I personally like to do is I like to kind of mute the vocals while I work on the instruments, just because I find the vocals to be a little distracting while I'm working on the instruments. And then I like to check everything next to the vocals as I'm mixing. But I think I've talked long enough, so how about we just jump right in. I'm going to start here with the drum track, which is Ender did something on this record where he has put. He's had a few times throughout this record where he bounced all the drums down onto one track, which is not my favorite thing to deal with as a mixer. But fortunately, everything sounds really good. But in this case, I don't have individual control over the kick, the snare, the hats. I just have this one track that has pretty much everything on it except for a few of these cymbals. Also, just ignore the naming of some of this stuff. Some of this stuff I just, it's how I have it named. I don't change the names even if the tracks are different. So if I have something named tambourine and this is a shaker, I don't change the name. I just, you see I have two tambourines. I just duplicate the tambourine. I've got a tambourine here. Anyway, I've talked enough, I think. This is just going directly to my drum bus, which only has a compressor and a limiter. Limiters for gain staging, and it will be tapping this compressor. So let's just jump right in, and I'm going to start doing my thing, and I will kind of explain what I did and why I did it after I do it. All right, let's get started. So what I was doing there was I was just giving this a little bit of clip to get it more in your face. And then I was adjusting the compression level on this drum bus compressor. I like when you crank it, it makes stuff slam a little bit harder. And then I was just tapping my limiter a little bit just to kind of keep some of the peaks under control. So my limiter on my mastering chain is not working as hard, and I was also checking to make sure that I was still hitting my compressor at a good level. You're going to see me check my mastering chain pretty frequently throughout this song just to make sure that, I'm still hitting everything where I want it to hit, because I know where I want everything to hit for it to be roughly the level that I want it to be at. So let's keep going with the toms. So right here, I just wanted to bring the toms down a little bit. They are slamming pretty hard, and you see I've got a clipper on here. It's just, putting the toms a little bit more in your face. I think I've even got some gain down on the output of that clipper. Cool. So to explain kind of what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to get everything in a good level, and you'll see that I do some soloing, but I also tend to check everything kind of next to each other. And the reason for this is because, when you solo something, you don't really hear how it's going to be when it's with everything else. So you can solo and make all these changes in solo, and then once you unsolo it, you'll find out that all the changes you did don't sound that good with everything else. And so mixing and solo can be a dangerous thing because you can, work your butt off to get something sounding good and then just find out it sounds terrible with everything else. And so what I like to do is kind of just try to focus on a few things at once. So you'll see me soloing stuff, but then you'll see me checking it next to everything else. And that's because I want to make sure that the drums are all sounding good together. And then I kind of want to move on to the next section and the next section. But before I, move on and say, okay, the drums sound good, I want to make sure that they sound good with everything else. And so, I'm sitting here working on the tambourine, and I'm working on the shaker, and then I'm checking it next to everything else just to make sure it's good. It's not too loud. It sounds roughly, balanced compared to everything else. And you see me making some slight EQ changes. That's to add a little bit more top end to everything, give a little bit more presence to everything. And you saw me do a little bit of limiting, and that was just to kind of have a bit more consistent sound across these percussive elements. So from here, I'm just going to kind of give it a listen across the board, make sure we're good on the drums, and then I'm going to move on to the bass and then the guitars. Just wanted to clean up any other low end the toms might be putting off. They may need to get brought down a little bit more, or the low end may need to be EQ'd out of them a bit. One thing to explain is that I actually mix in my bedroom. I don't have some multi-million-dollar studio that I mix in. I just mix in my bedroom in an untreated room that doesn't sound fantastic. And I think that that's the situation that a lot of mixers are in. A lot of mixers don't have multi-million-dollar studios or even the most well-treated rooms. And so sometimes it's kind of hard for me to tell exactly how it's going to sound just based off of my room. I am taking some, what's the word I'm looking for? I am doing some things basically to try to improve that situation. But a lot of people who are mixing aren't mixing in the most ideal environments. And sometimes, like the low end, for example, I don't have a subwoofer. And having a subwoofer in an untreated room can sometimes cause some low-end issues. Sometimes it's not even better to have a subwoofer. Sometimes it's best to not have one when you don't have a treated room, because you're going to get a misrepresentation of the low end in an untreated room, depending on how your room is. And I'm probably mixing in one of the worst environments, which is a bedroom. But that's okay, because when you're mixing in a bad environment, it just means you have to do a couple other things to just check your mix. And I have a pair of headphones here where I get to check my mix. And I usually have to take my mixes out to my car to really know how the low end is sitting and to make sure everything is solid. So sometimes it's hard for me to tell exactly how something is going to sound until I take it out to my car. But I highly suggest anyone who's trying to learn how to mix, or anyone who's mixing, to check their mix on multiple different speakers and headphones and things that don't sound that good, because that's probably the environment that your listener is going to be listening to. And if it sounds good on a phone, or sounds good on some crappy Apple headphones, then it will sound good probably almost everywhere. But to really know what the low end is going to be like, I usually have to go out to my car. So anyway, let's move on to the bass, because I think we're sounding pretty okay, at least a good starting point with the drums. And I was just adjusting the threshold of that compressor a little bit. Cool, we're still barely even touching my limiter, so we're doing pretty good. Now I've got a few plugins already set up here on my bass. I've got some top end cut out, some low end cut out, a little bit of max bass, which adds some sub-frequency harmonics and sometimes translates well to like a cell phone speaker, where you can still kind of hear some low end, because it gives those harmonics, makes those harmonics more present. Sometimes I like max bass, sometimes I don't. It's saved on this template, and I'll see if I want to keep it or not, but we'll check here in a second. That's another thing too. This is a pretty new template, so I'm trying to still work out some of the kinks. but you can only work out the kinks by mixing. So let's continue. In this particular case, this bass actually does more than just play low notes. This bass is a huge part of this song, and the top end is a big part of this song too. So I'm probably just going to pull this back. I don't think that's doing a whole lot, but, you know, I'll leave it on there for now. Why not? Whoops. For now, that little change was that little frequency was just kind of annoying me a little bit, so I decided to bring out just a little bit of it. I might not keep that out. I might change that later, but I'm going to just keep that little notch there for now. And I was just limiting this just a little bit just to kind of keep it under control, because this bass does have a little bit of dynamics, as you can kind of see on the waveform here. So I was just limiting it just to keep it under control. As you can hear, that put it just a little bit more in your face, which I like. I wanted a little bit more consistency in that bass. And we're going to leave it there for now. Honestly, there really isn't a lot to do to this. It sounds pretty good. As long as it sounds good with the drums. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's move on to the guitars. Let's see how we're sounding next to the vocals real quick. Alright, sounding okay for now. Now, moving on to the guitars, I'll say that one of my biggest challenges with this entire record was the guitars, and the reason for this is because Ender sent me a lot of guitars on multiple songs on this record, and as you can see, he pretty much tracked everything in stereo, so even the stuff that's mono is on a stereo track. So I didn't know what was stereo and what was mono unless I zoomed in on it and looked. So, like, for example, if I come in here, you can tell if I zoom in that these are a little bit different. So this is actually stereo. However, this track right here, for example, is, I think, yeah, they are identical on both sides. So this is technically mono. Now I have these all on stereo tracks because they were tracked in stereo, but this is technically mono, this is technically stereo, and I believe this is also technically stereo. And he really didn't give me any sort of guidance on how to pan this stuff because he sent me a lot of mono recorded stuff. So for example, instead of sending me a rhythm left and a rhythm right where he double tracked the guitar, a lot of times he just gave me a singular recording, a one mono track, and then just sent me a bunch of guitars that were just a one single take with no indication on where to pan them. And this presented a unique challenge for me because I really didn't know where to put a lot of the guitars. A lot of it was me winging it and just being like, okay, where do I put these? I guess I'll just put them where I think that they go best. And so it was an interesting situation and one of the biggest challenges with this record. So before I even started this mix, I did come in here and try to pan these the best I could. I pretty much have everything panned left 70, right 70 because I felt like panning them all the way left and right was making them sound a little too weak because these aren't, the same sound on each side, just double track. These are different sounds. So I wanted them to not be panned completely left or right. It's not that that would be wrong, but I just personally thought it sounded better if they were panned a little bit more inward, at least this time around. I don't remember exactly what I did on the original record, but this is what I chose to do this time on my second go round. So let's just start with the first guitar, see how it sounds. Also, on all of these guitar tracks, I have an SSL channel strip with just a little bit of boost at around 7K on all of these. It's a nice boost that I like on guitars. That was another thing I remember when I mixed this record. Some of the guitar EQ that I did was something that we had to go a little bit back and forth on in terms of revisions. Some of the EQ changes I did, he liked. Some of them I did, he wanted a little bit less of, and so I would make some changes to accommodate. So I'm kind of just going based off my own ear right now, so let's just see where it takes us. Also, I have this going to a guitar bus, which has a little bit of JST clip. And this is usually my rhythm guitars. In fact, some of this stuff isn't even technically rhythm guitars. I might even switch some of these to the lead section real quick. I didn't plan on doing this. Let's see. And since this is actually, trying to decide here what I want to do. Like I said, one of the biggest challenges of this record was nailing this part. So we're going to actually, because these aren't necessarily leads, but they aren't necessarily rhythms either. So let's come down here, drag these down. We're just going to separate these like this. Let's see. It's kind of a lead, I guess. I should have did this before even starting on mixing this, but that's okay. So we're just going to separate those two for now. Actually, you know what? Let's see. Yeah, let's leave those just panned center. I don't have that slamming into a limiter, do I? Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit of SSL stereo, and we are going to boost some top end. That to me sounds a little bit better. Just bringing down a little bit of mid-range out of that guitar. A little bit more air. So I was just checking to make sure that those weren't really getting in the way of anything else. So let's move on now to this part here. And again. That definitely needs some top end, so let's boost a little bit. See how that sounds? I think that top end boost sounded good next to everything else. However, I'm not going to do that. Just had a little annoying frequency there at 5K. And we're going to do a little bit of, I feel like I want just a little bit of limiting here. let's mute the vocals again. So I'm just checking this right now just to kind of see how it sits with everything else. And then I'm checking to see if when the vocals come in, if it interrupts the vocals or gets in the way, because sometimes you could crank something up like that and then you could get to the vocals and be ready to mix them and then wonder why you can't hear them. And then suddenly you realize that it's this one guitar part that you cranked too loud back when you were dialing in all that other stuff. And, you don't know why you can't get the vocals to, be heard right or whatever. And it's all because of that guitar part. So I just wanted to make sure that guitar part wasn't getting in the way of the vocals, but then proceed to mute the vocals again so I can kind of, not be distracted by them and focus on the instruments. Another thing I want to do to this is I want to add some delay because it needs it. It needs a little bit of space. And I use this delay a lot. I really like it. It's the FabFilter delay. We are going to move this to, what is this? It's a half note, 16th, 8th, quarter, half. There we go. I always forget. I have to count like that. I have to do math. All right, so let's do this. And this thing automatically syncs to the tempo of your song, so it should always be just right. All right, now if you guys want to get some actual stereo width here, what I like to do is I like to either set one side to a different timing than the other side, or I like to adjust this ever so slightly off. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but that delay suddenly went from this mono in the center to really wide, all because I moved that second side by 10 milliseconds. I barely moved it at all, and that was just enough to give it some width. So I like doing that to have some wide delays. And then I brought the wet knob down a little bit so the delay wasn't overbearing. It's more of a subtle texture than it is something that takes over that guitar. Now I feel like this needs to come up a little bit. We can just... And if you haven't noticed, I like to use limiters to kind of control my volume. I like to do this instead of moving my faders, because if I ever want to automate something, it will be way easier if all the faders are at 0 or around this ballpark, because if you make a slight automation change down here, it'll move it by 5 to 10 dB, where if I make a slight automation change up here, it'll move it from about 1 to 5 dB. So I just like to do that. Now, I probably won't be automating this part because it's pretty much the same all the way through, but it just bugs me to see faders all over the place. Occasionally, you'll see me have a fader pulled up or down, but not normally. And I got to keep checking over here to make sure it's not hitting my limiter. It is tapping it a little bit, so let's just pull this up. I had this in place when I built the template to kind of keep my gain structure under control, but I'm just going to back it off a little bit. I was just making sure that when I changed that, it didn't actually change the volume. Some of these limiters will do that. Even if you have them linked, it'll make the volume just skyrocket if you change it. Pretty sure this is a mono guitar. Let me zoom in. Yep, that's mono. So I'm just gonna keep that. Let's see. I actually feel like this needs to be panned back center because I feel like it is demanding the attention in this section and it needs it. Let me just make sure that we don't have, let's see how the vocals are sounding right there.
Hands down, this is your best opportunity. Hands down, this is your.
So this definitely needs more volume and again, more top end. More top end. And some of that pinch out. And this is going to need some timeless too. I think quarter notes usually sounds best most of the time, depending on the song. This one's probably going to need quarter notes. I can tell you right now, these are going to have to come down a little bit. Let's just do the whole thing. Let's come over here. Let's pull this down just a little bit. This will bring down all the vocals.
This is your best opportunity.
Let's set this one to 10K. Let's set this one to 10K because it's got a lot of harshness in the around the 4 or 5. I'm just gonna bring it up a little bit. I just wanted to give it some air. And let's see here. Is this stereo? Is this actual stereo? Let me check. Double check this. No. That's a mono guitar. So This probably needs to just come down a little bit. Let's see. Or come up a little bit. Let me just boost this just a little bit. That'll bring all my guitars up. Activate cycle. There, I can save, on plugins now just by boosting all the guitars up. However, I was actually limiting this one, so yeah. We'll leave that where it's at. It might actually be just a little bit too loud, so let's just think. Just 1 more dB. We can go and make those volume adjustments later. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to pan this left. Actually, different idea. We're going to pan the center. Sorry, man. This was one of my biggest challenges with this whole record was just figuring out where to put the guitars. So sorry, I'm going back and forth on this. I'm gonna do something different. We are going to try to make this sound stereo because I didn't have a lot of width from his guitars, and in some of his songs on this record, he actually had a mono-tracked rhythm guitar playing like a rhythm performance throughout the whole song. And it made it really hard because I didn't have any width. I had to find a way to make them rhythm guitars. The options were to either hit him up and say he needs to double track an entire, or a guitar for, needs to double track a guitar part for every single song that needs it, which could have taken forever and would have been a pain in the butt. And I did tell him that it would have turned out best if we could have done that or would have done that, but it was kind of too late to be doing that. So I had to just do what I could. And what I did on the official record was I came up with the best solution I knew at the time, which there might be a better one. If there is a better one, be sure to let me know in the comments. I love learning new mix techniques. But what I had to do was I had to take his stereo guitar, split it into 2 mono tracks, and then I had to ever so slightly shift one side out of time with the other, which can be really risky because it can cause phase issues and sound like crap. And then I had to give slightly different EQ curves on each one where they sounded almost the same, but they sounded just different enough that it gave a stereo width. I'm not going to do that here, especially with this guitar, because it's not really a rhythm. It's a, kind of a spacey sounding guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make it sound wide with this mono to stereo plugin. See how it works out. Uh-oh. I think my session just crashed. Not good. Okay, well that sucks. It fixed itself, finally. Sorry if this is getting a little bit annoying. So this just kind of cuts off right at the end. So the one last thing I'm going to add is some timeless delay to the... Whoop, I misspelled it. Timeless. Add a little bit of timeless so it doesn't just cut off right there. Cool. So I muted it there so I could hear how much it was blocking everything else, and it was actually causing a little bit of, it was masking some of the vocals, so I brought it down some. We're going to move on to the rest of the song. We're taking too much time on this. I think we're probably going to do that. I spent all this time doing this panning, but I really didn't check everything. So should have did that, but that's okay. Let's see. I'm pretty sure this is actually mono 2. Yep. All right. So we're going to do the exact same thing here that we did to the other one. We are going to put a mono to stereo plugin on here. Timeless. I think that one sounded better with eighth notes. check this next to the vocals.
Well, nobody wants to cry, baby. If you wanna play, you a sound.
Another thing I want to do, actually, just to give it a little bit more consistency to this, is I want to add some Pro C.
Well, nobody wants to cry, baby. If you wanna play in the sand, hey, you sounded fine. Well, nobody wants to cry, baby. If you wanna play, you sounded fine. Well, nobody wants to cry.
So what I'm doing is just checking to make sure that that's not getting in the way of the vocals, and what I did here was I compressed it just to give a little bit more consistent volume on all those plucks, and then just, you know, brought the volume down just a little bit with the limiter.
If you wanna play in the sand, if you wanna play, if you wanna play in the sand, hey.
And again, I think just because it just cuts off right there suddenly, it would just sound better if it had a little bit of a delay on it. It just helps it not have that weird just cut off right at the end. And that's a production decision that isn't necessarily something I have any control over, but I can do something to try to alleviate it a little bit. And what I need to do is I need to save this timeless as a default setting with like quarter notes and whatnot. So I quit having to make those changes. It'd make my workflow go faster. So something I like to do, if you haven't noticed, is I like to, check how that one element is affecting every other element. If I feel like when I compare those two side by side that it's masking something in the other element, then I know, okay, it needs a tweak. And this makes it easier because I'm not just soloing something, making changes, and then moving on to the next thing. I'm actually checking it next to individual elements of the song to see how they fit together, and not having everything else in the mix kind of getting in the way. And I just do this little bit by little, just making sure that every step of the way, everything is sitting right with each other.
Girls, boys and girls.
I'm gonna keep this panned left because this part's about to come in and sound nice and wide.
Boys and girls, boys and girls.
Now this side's a little bit quieter, so we're gonna just clip gain it up a little bit. just going to come up here, copy that, come down here, timeless, make my life easier, paste it. I don't want a long decay on this either. I don't want it to just like echo out, like as soon as it hits that last note, echoes forever. I just want it to kind of stop pretty quick, because all I'm trying to do is give it a little bit of ambience, a little bit of space. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to cut the balls off of those guitars. I'm just trying to give them a little bit of ambience.
Boys and girls.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of limiting on this, because this has a little bit more like body to it. So I want the I want it to really just feel fat. But I want the limiter to come before the delay. I don't want to limit the delay. Much that's just muddying up the mix. Let's bring this down just a little bit. All right, cool. So now let's come back to here. All right, let's check these. All right, cool. So what I like to do on things like this is, you see I have everything labeled as extras. This is all just synths. This is for anything else, pianos, sub drops, anything like that. And what I like to do with this kind of stuff is I usually like to widen it like this. You see I've got a side widener on here. That's for some width. And you see I've got it going to a little bit of reverb. Got some reverb over here. One of my favorite reverbs for synths and whatnot is called Huge Synth Space. I've made a couple adjustments to it, but this is what I tend to default to for synth-like stuff, and pretty much the only reverb I think I used on his record for synths. Now, one thing I really like to do to give life to this kind of stuff is I like to saturate it. I think warm tube sounds pretty good. And I'm gonna move the EQ afterwards so I can cut out the low end that added to the sound. And I'm cutting out this low end because it's really not doing anything for the mix. It's kind of like wasted energy, wasted frequencies that are just getting in the way of my kick and my bass. That needs to go away because it's getting in the way of... So what I did right there was I did a little bit of a boost around the high treble range. This gives it a little bit more attack. We'll see if I like that here in a minute or not. I might take it off. Same thing here. Gonna move that right after. This has even less necessary stuff. I need to change that.
Next to me, if you wanna get next to me, you're gonna find that the mind games come with more. If you wanna get next to me, you're gonna find that the mind games come with more mystery. If you wanna get next to me, you're gonna find that the mind games come with more mystery.
So what I did there, again, just kind of doing the same thing. I like how that sounds. I like how the Saturn sounds. I like how the Pro Q3, well, hold on. Keep grabbing the wrong band. Cutting out all that wasted stuff. Giving a little bit of width. Okay, so we are getting pretty close to getting all these synths done. Let's see, what else we got left? Grabbing the wrong EQ bands. Stop it. Go away. Just bringing out a little bit of that harshness that I didn't like. And giving a little bit more reverb just because it adds a little more space. Now let's see where we are at. Come up here to my mastering chain real quick. so now we are a little bit louder than I intended to be at. So let's see what we can do here. Probably going to bring down, I don't know if we need to bring all this stuff down. I kind of wish I had a way to solo all this stuff. Maybe I'll make a bus for this, but we can just solo all those, solo this. Let's bring, I think I brought this up just a little bit. Let's bring this down. And let's bring my vocals back up now. Let me make sure, let me check everything next to each other. My vocals definitely need to come up some again, so we will bump these back up to where they were at before, which was just -1. Okay, everything I'm making at this point is subtle changes, so let's move on to the vocals. Let's get this thing at least pretty close to dialed in. And real quick, let me explain what I got going on with my vocals. I've kind of got a standard vocal chain right now that I'm kind of trying out. I don't know if I'll keep this chain or not, but this is kind of a standard chain. We've got an 1176 mono. We've got a Pro Q3, just doing a little bit of low-end cuts. Again, don't really know if I'm going to keep this or not. This is something that I have borrowed from somebody else, from a professional mixer, just to see how I liked his chain, and I don't know how I feel about it yet, so we'll see. We've got a little bit of top-end boost at around 15 kilohertz on the vocals. Then we've got a Pro C, which is what I added to this. We've got RVox mono at -18, and we've got a couple de-essers, and I got this because sometimes one de-esser is just not enough. I find layering 2 de-essers helps with the S's better than using one to just squash them. It allows each one to tap down just a little bit, which I like the sound of that better. And then we've got an exact duplicate of this vocal, because I find that getting a lead vocal right in your face, the best way to do it is to just duplicate it. That simple. So let's focus just on the lead vocal real quick. And then I got this going to just a Pro Q3, which has some more vocal cuts on it, and then a limiter. Now I can tell you right off the bat that, let me check something here. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So if you were wondering what I was doing there, I was checking to see if I was suspending the linking. So these 2 tracks are actually linked, these 2 vocal tracks, where if I do one move on one, it'll do the same move on the other. But if you see up here at the top, if I hit Alt, that suspend just lights up. And sometimes I accidentally turn that on, and I start making a change on one and it won't make a change on the other, which I really hate. So I was making sure that it wasn't like clicking on, it was toggle on. So I have to like hold it, or not toggle on, it was hold to keep it on. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't doing that. So anyway.
The world will drive you crazy when the world is lonely. Yeah. The world will drive you crazy when the world is lonely. The world will drive you crazy when the world is lonely.
I was just trying an EQ curve that I like a little bit better. Let's see how each one of these is really affecting the sound. So let's just turn everything off one at a time.
The world will drive you crazy.
And the point of this compressor really is to just kind of even out the vocals a little bit more, just to catch the peaks. This is a really good compressor. I'm not sure which one's better for vocals, blue or black. I have it set to black right now, but there is a blue version. I actually just got this plugin. I know it's super popular, but I just got it, and so I'm trying it out. I actually didn't use this on the official release of his song, so this is all, kind of some new stuff.
The world will drive you crazy when the world is lonely. The world will drive you crazy when the world.
I like what that's doing.
The world will drive you crazy when the world is lonely.
I like how that's bringing out some low end out of the vocal, but I do know that we need some additional EQ changes.
The world will drive you crazy. The world will drive you crazy. When the world will drive you crazy. When the world will drive you crazy. When the world is lonely.
I'm going to do something here. I'm going to do some dynamic EQ, which is going to compress this down when that one frequency pops up.
The world will drive you crazy. When
See how that sounds?
the world will drive you crazy.
Versus,
The world will drive you crazy. When
maybe, let me fast forward right to where that one note pops out.
will drive you crazy. When
Right here.
crazy. When crazy. When crazy. When
You hear that difference? That one frequency really hurts until I turn on that dynamic EQ.
crazy. When crazy. When crazy. When
And I did a lot of this on his official release, a lot of dynamic EQ with this plugin.
crazy. When the world is lonely.
Make sure. Yeah, it's identical on both sides. Yep, it's identical on both sides.
Boys and girls. Crazy. When the world is lonely.
Then we add a little bit of top end for some air.
Crazy. When the world is lonely. Crazy. When the world is lonely.
See how it just adds a little bit of air. Now we use one of my favorite vocal compressors, Pro C, on the vocal mode.
Crazy. When the world is
We're going to bring this back a little bit so we're not squashing it so hard.
Crazy. When the world is lonely. Yeah. Crazy. When the world is lonely. Crazy. When the world is lonely.
Now, we might bring this back a little bit. Let's see.
Crazy. When the world is lonely. Crazy. When the world is lonely. Crazy. When the world is lonely. Yeah. Wait. Crazy. When the world is lonely. Yeah. Wait.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do a little bit more EQ.
Crazy. When crazy. When crazy. When
This frequency is driving me crazy.
crazy. When crazy. When crazy. When
Sorry if that's annoying, but this is what you have to do as a mixer.
crazy. When
Now let's go find like the loudest part of this vocal.
Boys and girls, 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 boys and girls. Boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and girls.
Widen the cue just a little bit because it's not quite getting it.
Boys and girls, boys and girls.
Cool. So the next thing I want to do, it sounds okay right now. We're limiting it. I want to send to the vocal reverb, which down here, I just have a de-esser to catch any S's, so that way I don't have a bunch of S's going to my reverb. And then I've just got a vocal gold plate.
They're asking for hands out. This is your best opportunity, 'cause the weight of the world is yours. The weight of the world will drive you.
I'll be honest, this is like a standard vocal reverb that I have set up, but I like how it sounds on this. So I'm going to just keep it this way, and if I feel the need to tweak it, I will.
They're asking for hands out. This is your best opportunity, 'cause the weight of the world is yours. The weight of the world will drive you crazy. Weight of the world is lonely. Yeah. The weight of the world. They're asking for hands out. This is your best opportunity, 'cause the weight of the world is yours. The weight of the world will drive you crazy. Weight of the world is lonely. They're asking for hands out. This is your best opportunity. They're asking for hands out. This is your best opportunity, 'cause the weight of the world is yours. The weight of the world will drive you crazy. Weight of the world. They're asking for. They're asking for.
So all I'm doing right now is I'm just notching out a couple frequencies that are bugging me and nothing else really. And let's turn this back. Oh, wait. Why do I... Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that was the same plugin. That I use sometimes. I'm not worried about it right now. All right, cool. So let's turn...
Asking for hands out. This is your best opportunity. 'Cause the weight of the world is
I feel like it needs more.
the weight of the world will drive you crazy. Weight of the world is lonely. Yeah. Weight of the world. Weight of the world will drive you crazy. Weight of the world is lonely.
I hear a frequency bugging the shit out of me right now. That obviously needs to come up. Let's bring this up.
Boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and
Oh, hold on.
weight of the world, boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and girls. The weight of the world is
Now we got to add the background vocals in here.
down. This is your best opportunity.
And what I have going on here is pretty much the same thing I had going on with the lead vocals. We've just got a, or I forgot to make this change into my template. I was supposed to switch these to -30. That's fine.
Down. This is your best opportunity. The way you only hear what you want to.
That it matters much. It's not even hitting really.
You only hear what you want to. When no one needs. You only hear what you want to. When no one. You only hear what you want to. When no one needs you. You only hear what you want to.
Sorry, I was just adjusting that so it would be a little bit more similar to my lead vocals.
You only hear what you want to when no one needs you no more. Baby, if you wanna play in the sand, hands down. This is your best opportunity. Baby, if you wanna play in the sand, hands.
So I've also got my background vocals going to the stereo verb and the stereo delay, as well as a doubler.
Baby, if you wanna play in the sand, hands down, this is your best opportunity. The weight of the world is low. Weight of the world will drive you.
This just adds a little bit of width to the background vocals. I've got the doubler up here.
Baby, if you wanna play in the sand, hands down. Nobody wants to cry, baby. If you wanna play in the sand, hands down. This is your best opportunity. 'Cause the weight of the world is us. The weight of the world will drive you crazy. Weight of the world is lonely. Yeah. The weight of the world. Nobody wants to. If you wanna play in the sand, hands down. This is your best opportunity. 'Cause the weight of the world is up. The weight of the world will drive.
So we are getting pretty close to this song being done. What I did there was I just kind of, did the same thing I did on this vocal, added a little bit of the 10K instead of the 15K. Just a personal preference. Again, I'm still trying out this vocal chain to see how I like it. Vocals for me are actually the most challenging part of any mix, and I think that they're probably the most challenging part for most people because the human ear knows what the voice is supposed to sound like. And so even if you're not a mixer and you don't know audio, you know when a vocal doesn't sound right. So I wanted to sorry, I lost my train of thought. I wanted to make sure that I got the vocals dialed in as good as I could, and vocals just usually are the thing that I take the most time on because they are the hardest thing to really get to sit right in a mix. But now, since we are pretty close, we're not done. We still have some more stuff. We still have automation. We still have a little bit more like fine-tuning and dialing in. But let's see where we are compared to the original mix. All right, let's check it. Let's check. Hold on. So this, what we're listening to right now, is the official release, and when I switch over to A, that's going to be my current mix.
Best opportunity.
I'll be honest. I mean, after checking that back and forth, they are pretty close to being just as good as each other. It's kind of hard for me to tell. I feel like the final version may have just maybe a touch more like width. I think the levels or the balancing is just slightly different in the final version, but they are really close. It's actually hard to tell which one is better, but I got this pretty close to the final version. Now, if I was going to finish this mix, which I, should probably, to help you guys out, then I would go through here, do some automation, do some fine tuning, make sure everything is good. There was this one guitar part over here that was definitely way too quiet. But generally speaking, this is the final, this is, the finished song. To come through here, I do want to, walk you through my mastering chain real quick. So what I've got here is I've got the JW bus glue mix, and this thing is really, really cool. Let me show you what this is adding to the mix. Let me just activate this in the hook. And what I've got here is it's currently on the iron transformer. I preferred this one to the other two. I'll be honest though, when I pick these transformers, it's kind of hard for me to tell a huge difference. I think this thing's modeled after the Shadow Hills or the SSL or something. And then it's got this no small time button, which is like the magic button. I love this compressor. When you take this off, you can tell a huge difference. So let me just hit play and turn this on and off. So to me, that thing is adding width, it's adding brightness, it's adding just more life to the mix overall, and I love it. The other thing that we have here is the linear phase multi-band compressor, which I'm kind of torn on whether or not I like this on my mastering chain. This is a new addition to the chain. Let's see what this sounds like on and off. Kind of hard for me to tell if I like it better with or without it. Really what this is doing is kind of trying to just even out the frequency imbalances where maybe certain parts of the high end pop out. But I'm kind of torn. I like this a lot on one mix I did, but I don't like it on every mix I do. So let's just maybe, let's back it off just a little bit. It's pretty subtle, but I think it does slightly level out the frequency spectrum a little bit. I'm new to this plugin. I'm kind of learning it, so we'll leave it on, but it's a really subtle change. And one thing I've always had on my mastering chain is the JST clip, which really just puts the mix a little bit more in your face. it's also pretty subtle, but if I wanted to make this mix just a little bit more in your face, I could change the mix knob here. I don't like to use a lot of this on the mastering chain because it can be a little overbearing, but if I want to change it, I'll show you what it sounds like. Like an idiot, I turned it off first. Hold on. But yeah, that's pretty much the mix. I mean, other than coming through here and dialing in some automation, which is a huge part of mixing, that is pretty much the mix. I mean, we got it pretty close to the final version. Let me just come through here real quick and just go through the whole song one time and let me see if I can just, you know, do some speed automation real quick. And then we will call it a wrap.
Just so you know, if you wanna get next to me, you're gonna. Just so you know, just so you know, just so you know.
So I hear one frequency right there that just needs a little bit of taming. Not a big deal.
Just so you know, if you wanna get next to me, just so you know, just so you know, just so you know, just so you know, if you wanna get next to me, you're gonna find that the mind games come with more mystery. I won't ask you to be yourself. I won't buy you a side. Well, nobody wants to cry, baby. If you wanna play in the sand. Well, nobody wants to cry, baby. If you wanna play in the sand. Hands down, hands down, hands down.
This needs to come up a bit. Do I have my grid on? I do. Let's set this to, well, hold on. It's not. Oh, there we go. I don't know if I like that automation change. Hold on. That's a huge problem right there. That needs some automation. Whoops. Those parts are definitely need automation. Ah, shit. That line was in my way. Let's boost on the whole bus instead. Whoa. actually gets a little bit louder, and because that second guitar comes in. How much did I go up on that? Was that 3? I can't tell. Yeah, 3, I think. A number so small, I can't tell. Let me bring this down just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, you want to bring this down just a little bit because that second guitar comes in. Actually, that sounds like I hold on. That sounds like I boosted it too much. Let me fix it. Sometimes you just got to play with automation and see how you like it because it is finicky. So let's boost this by about 1.5. See how that sounds. Cool. So I think that that's pretty good. I mean, if I was, say, doing this for the first time with Ender and this was where my song was at, what I would do at this point is I would probably take an ear break, come back to this song here in about maybe another 20 or 30 minutes, give it another listen, play through it again, take it out to my car, check it, make sure it sounds great, and if I feel pretty confident with it, at that point I would then send it to the artist for mix revisions, and we would go from there. But I think that this is a pretty good point to say that the song is just about mixed. I mean, it's probably about 90-95% of the way there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it was kind of long, but hopefully you guys learned something. Please let me know what I can do on the next video to help you guys out some more. Let me know if there's anything in particular that you guys want to know. Feel free to ask me any questions. Reach out to me on socials. Leave your comments letting me know what you like best, And yeah, I look forward to doing the next song off of the Art of Tactful Procrastination for you guys. And hopefully you guys learned something. Also, if you guys are wanting to get any mixing and mastering services done by me, then feel free to reach out to me on andrewauroraproductions.com. I have left the link in the description of this video for you guys if you guys want to have me mix a song. And of course, I can always mix your song here on YouTube and show you guys how to mix it. Maybe your song can be the next one that I mix. And feel free to pick up my free resource, my 12 tips to finding the right mixing and mastering engineer for you. I have that in the description of this video as well. And I will see you guys soon. Oh, and also, if you guys want to pick up some of the plugins that I use, feel free to. It's in my kit link in the description as well. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Peace.